Ryotora would have given up on reaching the village and just made camp, but no suitable location offered itself. He dismounted again to lead the pony, letting her set the pace as she carefully chose her footing in the increasing gloom, and tried to be grateful that at least the chill of the rain was easing the throb in his twisted ankle. If they didn't find shelter soon, they would have no choice but to stop where they were, and at least wait for the rain to pass. At last, the ground leveled out, and not too far away, Ryotora thought he saw lights glimmering. Spirit lights? He wondered. Such things like to lead travelers astray, or over cliffs. But he felt like they had reached a valley floor, and these had the warm glow of true flame. Without warning, one of his ashigaru shucked his pack and readied his spear with a speed that made the pony sidle. A moment later a voice came from the trees. "Stop! Name yourself!" Ryotora swallowed the rapid beating of his pulse, with his thoughts on spirits and the tale he'd heard in Heibesu. But the voice was young, and heavily laden with the thick accent of the north. Though it did its best, it didn't quite succeed at sounding fierce. A sentry, he realized, and a determined one, to be out in this weather. He raised his chin, showing his face as best as he could in the murk. "I am Agasha no Isao Ryotora, sent from Heibesu in response to your message. These two ashigaru accompanying me are Ishi and Taro." He silently promised the fortunes that he would learn to tell them apart. His words produced a brief silence, then a rustling, followed by a thump as the sentry dropped out of a nearby hemlock. Ryotora couldn't see much, but now that the voice wasn't raised in strident challenge, it sounded female. "Just you?" "And two ashigaru," Ryotora said, though how much use they would be he couldn't guess. It depended on what was happening in Sebo Mura. She stood quietly for a moment. When she spoke again, she sounded discouraged. "I'll take you to Ogano's house." "You don't need to stay here and keep watch?" "No," she said, her tone going flatter still. "I was looking out for you, not the monsters." Even in the dark and the rain, Ryotora could see the damage. The light cast from a few houses picked out the silhouette of a burned building, jagged timbers still pointing accusations at the sky. Ryotora's guide, muttering a brief warning, led him around the edge of a pit torn into the ground. Rough-hewn beams propped up the roof of another house whose side wall had been ripped away. She brought him to what he suspected was the largest house in the village. It spilled light from the edges of the shuttered windows along the raised veranda, as if the owner didn't care about saving lamp oil for the winter, as if he didn't expect to still be here when that season came. When Ryotora's guide knocked at the door, no one opened it. Through the steady patter of the rain, though, he thought he could make out a sudden flutter of voices inside. His guide knocked again, and after a moment a nervous-sounding man shouted, "Who is it?" "Rin," the girl said, "with a samurai from down south." The voice got closer, but the door still didn't open. "How do I know it's really you?" "Because the moon ain't full," the girl said in a tone that barely avoided appending, "you idiot," to the answer. That seemed to be persuasion enough to unbar the door, but it only opened a crack. Although the figure that appeared in it was an unreadable silhouette, Ryotora felt a suspicious gaze weighing him. "What's your name? And who sent you?" Ryotora repeated his introduction, adding, "I was sent by the governor of Heibesu." "You could be lying," the man said. "I know the stories. Women asking to come in from the snow, babies crying in the fields, all tricks to make us let our guard down. Yokai. Many people went their whole lives without ever meeting such a creature outside of the tales told around the hearth at night. But if the reports out of Seibo Mura were to be believed, this man's caution was justified. "I am going to pray to the kami," Ryotora said. "If they answer me, it would take the form of—" What should he choose? What would this man not interpret as a sign that he was a yokai? Casting his gaze around, Ryotora made out a broken pick lying on the ground, the sort of thing a miner would use in his work, or in his defense. The haft of this pick will be made whole. He knelt.